Okay, let's go.
Hey, what's up guys? This is Doug, KB2, UKA. I'm making this video on request by YouTube user Boyd Soft Prez. He asked me to go through my DAW setup, what I'm thinking about when I'm processing audio, and this is not the first time I've had this request. These videos are difficult to make because when processing audio, especially for radio, everyone's voice is going to be different and settings are going to be different. So what I'm about to show you, I'm going to talk from the position of processing it specifically for my voice. I'm going to go through EQ settings, compression settings. You're also going to see that I'm not using a lot of plugins. For those of you that know me, I've gone from full, 9, 10 piece analog racks to digital mixers running, 8, 9, 10 plugins. We've only got a few plugins now. I'm going to play a sample of my audio for you at the end of the video. I hope you enjoy it, and as always, if you like these videos, please like and subscribe. It really helps get the channel out, and most importantly, it helps spread awareness around amateur radio, which we all know could use some awareness. Hey, what's up, guys? Little 40 meters, but we're going to mute this for now so we could talk about audio processing. So, okay. So, here's the DAW I use, and I've used Pro Tools, I've used PreSonus, I've used Logic Pro. They all function the same. I am using Cakewalk Sonar right now, and I used Cakewalk years ago, and it used to crash my computer. They did a lot of work on it. Sonar is their new version. This thing has been running flawless, absolutely flawless. So let's take a look over here. Let me move my mug up here. Okay. All right, good. So what you have here is my mic channel. Now, let's talk about the microphone, okay, for DAW setup or for any audio setup. Over 5 years of doing this and probably making hundreds of audio profiles and watching hundreds of hours of YouTube videos on how to process audio for recording studios for music. That's how I really learned. Obviously, other amateur radio operators help me who've been doing Voodoo or ESSB audio much longer than I have been, but I self-taught myself a lot through YouTube and recording studio videos. So the microphone, there are two very important aspects to this. The most important, I believe now, the microphone and the audio interface. This is a very expensive microphone, what you see right here. You do not have to use a very expensive microphone, okay? I could probably get the audio to sound to the average listener identical with a much more inexpensive mic. I can hear the difference. This is a Stellar XE Gemini 2 microphone. It is a tube microphone, large condenser microphone with two tubes in it. It has a separate power supply that powers the tubes, and then the microphone goes directly into the audio interface. I bought this mic brand new. It came with two Chinese tubes. It sounded great. I'm a fanatic. I changed the tubes. I put a vintage RCA 5751 command tube into it on the input, and an Amprex Bugle Boy tube on the output. This mic is very, very warm, and you're hearing my 4K profile right now. Obviously, it sounds different than it sounds when it's transmitted, which I'll give you a sample of that at the end, but this is a very warm microphone. I have the low cut engaged on the mic. Now I have the low cut shut off on the mic. You should have been able to hear a difference, but it's just too much. It's too much for ham radio audio, so I put the low cut back on. The microphone is important, and the reason the audio interface is important, I have a high quality audio interface as well. I'm running an RME Fireface UCX2. It is one of the cleanest, quietest preamps in an audio interface after many, many hours of research and owning many different audio interfaces. The reason I want a high quality preamp is because I want you guys to hear the microphone. I want you to hear the robust lows in the microphone when I'm on the air. And a low quality audio interface is going to add color and distortion to the microphone. So it's important to know high quality microphone for your voice and high quality audio interface with clean, beautiful preamps. So let's get in. So here's the rack, okay? I'm only running 3 plugins on the main mic rack. I then have 2 plugins. This is the output channel of the DAW. I have 2 plugins on the output channel of the DAW. So I'm running a total of 5 plugins. And obviously the first plugin is, can't blow this up, so I hope you guys could see this. You might have to zoom in. The first plugin is the EQ. And for my voice, what you're going to notice is I mostly have cuts in the EQ. I'm either flat or I'm cutting. So the rule of thumb for ESSB or for Voodoo Audio is to cut out your mids and your low mids, which you could see here I've done, and is to boost your low end and boost your high end. But I'm not really doing that in the first stage EQ. In the first stage EQ, I'm doing mostly cuts. I have a little tiny boost here at 2500 hertz, but everything else is flat or cut. So my transmit bandpass is 40 hertz low, 4000 hertz high. So you're going to, if you're able to receive down to 40 or below that, you're going to be able to hear the 40 hertz, but it's more of a feeling than hearing with the human ear that low. And you'll be able to hear as high up as you want to hear. So you'll see at 40 hertz, I'm at 0 dB. And then number 2 is, it's relatively arbitrary. It's 89 hertz. I start to cut. And I do a massive cut all the way to about 160 hertz, 150 hertz. So at 158 hertz, it's not that, it's pretty massive. It's minus 9.9 dB, okay, with a Q or a bandpass of 3.9. I then roll back up a little bit at 250. So at 250, I'm probably cutting about 7 dB. And then boom, massive cut to the mid-range. Number 4 is 478 hertz. But basically, 500 hertz is where you want to have a massive cut. And when I do the audio demonstration for you at the end of the video, you're going to see on my spectrum, on my pan adapter when I'm speaking, there's a huge dip at 500. You'll be able to see this EQ in the transmitted signal. So after 500 hertz, I start a drastic climb back to 0. Okay, and I make it back to 0 right at 2000 hertz, at 2K. I have a small 4 dB boost at 2500, and then I roll back down. Now, some guys, if they're doing a 4K transmit bandpass, or a 5K, or a 6K, or a 3K, you'll see a major roll-off, like right here, right after 4K. I don't do that. I've done it. I've done it a million times. This time I didn't do it. Next time I make a audio profile, I might do it. But this is my standard EQ, and if I were to delete Cakewalk and start from scratch, after recording myself, 2 or 3 times on a Kiwi SDR when I'm doing the EQ, like I did in the last video, I would end up with an EQ that looks pretty similar to this for the first EQ, okay? So these are my numbers for my EQ. They're not going to be your numbers. They might be similar. You're gonna need a massive cut at 500. I don't care if you're a tenor, a baritone, a bass. For ESSB, you need to cut out that mid-range because it allows the highs and the lows then to stand out. But all right, I'm back, guys. You might have heard my wife before that little cut. That's the magic of doing YouTube videos in your Radio Shack in the basement. They just got home. So as I was saying, you see no massive boost here. Well, no boost at all on the low end. Okay, but I have lows. The next plug-in in the chain is a simple compressor, and you're gonna have to zoom in here. Maybe I'll try to zoom in on the edit. If I don't hate me for it. But what I'm doing here is very light compression, the first stage compressor. So this right here, this meter is how much compression that I'm getting. I'm not going to go into attack and release, though attack is how quickly the compressor engages, and the release obviously is how quickly it disengages. So you adjust your threshold. I want to peak if I'm real loud, which I'm not yelling this loud when I'm on the radio. I'm averaging about -3, maybe -4 dB of compression. Nothing crazy. The reason I put a compressor here is to hold in any stray frequencies from the first compressor. It's kind of like putting glue on the first equalizer. Okay, so step 2, light compression. Step 1, EQ, do all your cuts. Step 2, light compression to glue in all your cuts. Step 1 is equalization. Step 2, light compressor. Glue in the equalization that you just did. Step 3, this is my magic, okay? A lot of guys use an oral exciter or an optical big bottom here. I've gone away from the Aphexes and the sonic exciters, and I like to use a Pultec EQ. Pultec EQ is a classic, and it does something beautiful to the low end. And again, your settings are going to be different than mine, but there's a couple of things here that will be universal. So whatever your low frequency is on the transmit, and again, mine is 40 hertz, I like to affect and set the low frequency on the Pultec right below that. So if I was running 100 hertz low, I would do 60 hertz. I don't know. I never run 100 hertz low. 60 might be too far from 100. I might actually do 100. But I'm doing 40 hertz low, so I'm choosing 30 hertz as the frequency that I'm going to affect with the boost and the attenuation on the low end, okay? Now with the Pultec, whatever number you settle on for your boost, for me I settled slightly under 6, you want to attenuate the same number. So you'll notice my boost and my attenuation on the low end is identical. And the reason I do that, if you YouTube search the phrase Pultec bass trick, there's an old trick that recording artists used to use with the Pultec EQ. And that was to boost and attenuate the low end at the same level, which creates the Pultec bass trick, which adds beautiful harmonics to the low end. Again, I don't use an Aphex big bottom anymore, which adds harmonics to the low end. This takes care of that for me. Some of you are going to run this at 3. Some of you are going to run this at 2. Some of you might run it at 8, all depending on your voice. For me, I settled right below 6, and you'll notice again that the attenuation is matched at the same level. Now I add in my high end, okay? So I boost my high end also at 6. And here's the frequency that I'm controlling with the high end. Again, this is a 4K profile. I've got it set at 3K. So I'm adding some nice energy to give some nice sparkle to the 4K profile right around 3K. And I'm affecting more than just 3K. Same with the low end. I'm affecting more than just 30 hertz. There's a cue to the frequency that you're adjusting here with the Pultec. On the low end, you have no control over that cue, but there is spillover, which is why you're able to hear my low end when I transmit. On the high end, there is a bandwidth control to control the cue or the bandwidth of the high end. So I have it set on 3. I have my bandwidth set around 6, and I am affecting slightly below 3 and slightly above 3,000 hertz as well. And I have no attenuation on the high end, though if I wanted to, the lowest frequency that I can attenuate is 5,000 hertz. But again, if I needed attenuation to take care of S's or whatever, I'd be able to do that here with the Pultec. All right, now we're going to talk about the 2 plugins that I have on the output. So I like running multi-band compression, and obviously I like running plating or reverb, and I like running them on a separate channel. The way the DAW works, it takes your mic channel and then routes everything to the master output channel. So on the master output channel, here's my multi-band compressor. I'm not going to get into the weeds with this. Using multi-band compression is more advanced. If you're not ready for multi-band compression, you put a second compressor, a broadband compressor, and this is where you do aggressive compression, okay? And what you're going to notice here is I have heavily compressed, you'll see it moving right here, Sally sells seashells by the seashore. I've heavily compressed my high end. And the reason I do that, and this allows me to compress different frequency ranges, hence the term multi-band or multi-frequency compressor. This allows me to really pump the high end. I'll show you that again. I have a 6 out of 10 on the boost of the high end. If I didn't have the multi-band compressor here, it would sound over the air, it would sound very rough. The S's would be out of control. And again, you're hearing this profile right now. I'm just too lazy to make a YouTube or a TikTok profile just for recording, but I would probably EQ this and compress this a little bit differently if it was just going to be for doing voiceover recordings on YouTube or TikTok. But I'm just lazy and I'm using my 4K profile. This allows the multi-band compressor, or really even the broadband compressor, allows you to push your bass and your low end without having them be overdone. Someone asked me a question on yesterday's video, why don't I just use CFC in Thetis? The reason I don't, and CFC is awesome, and when I do use CFC because of all this stuff I have going on here, I don't adjust the frequency bands. I leave them all flat, and I just use it as a broadband compressor. But I'm not using CFC right now because of all this. The reason I don't use it is, and you guys can argue with me, I don't believe, through my own experience, that CFC is actually a multi-band compressor. I think it functions to me more like a compressor, and more like an expander. And the reason I say that, if let's say my S's are too wet, and I go to increase the quote-unquote compression gain at, like, I don't know, 2,500 or 3,000 hertz, the S's actually get worse. So it's adding energy instead of compressing, in my opinion. So that's why I like to use a true multi-band compressor. So again, individual settings are going to vary, but with the multi-band compressor, you want to reel in your high end and reel in your low end. The way I have my lows adjusted, I didn't really need compression. But if you look at this meter, sugar, Sally, I'm peaking at almost 10 or 12 dB of compression. I'm averaging probably 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. See if I If I don't say S's, the average is lower. It's probably about 5 dB, but once I really get into it, it starts to average, 7, 8 dB with peaking at 12. So, step 1, EQ, cut out all the crap. Step 2, compress that first EQ. Step 3, EQ again, because that's really what the Pultec is doing. That's really what an Aphex is doing. EQ again by adding in your highs and lows that you may have cut out or didn't boost in the first EQ. Then do aggressive, step 4 is aggressive compression, whether it's a broadband compressor or a multiband like I'm using. And last but not least, step 5 is just a touch of reverb. The reverb will sound much stronger here locally than it will over the air. And you want that. You want it to sound stronger locally because it gets lost over the air. But over the air, when you're doing your recordings on the Kiwi, you want to make sure that it really is just a touch. Well, again, it's up to you. It's subjective. I want to make sure that it's just a touch of reverb just to add that room ambience. I don't think you could see it in this video, but there's treatments up all over this room. So this room is pretty dead. That's how I run my audio. I've run Behringer X-Airs. I've ran Soundcraft digital mixers. I recently had a Behringer Wing Rack digital mixer. I've had the PreSonus Studio Live digital mixer. I've run multiple plugins in DAWs for a long time, analog racks. It's all basically the same strategy. I don't believe in de-essers. If you need a de-esser, you're not EQ'd right, in my opinion. And the de-essers add a weird blanket over the audio that gets rid of sparkle. You need sparkle. That's why we're doing this. So that's really it. 5 plugins in total. I probably could get away with 4, but 5 is still not overdoing it, in my opinion. I know people that run 8, 9, 10 plugins. You lose something with each plugin. You lose something with each piece in the rack, if it's an analog rack. Each piece takes away something and adds a blanket over the last piece, again, in my opinion. All right, let's take a quick sample on how this sounds on the air. All right, so we're going to do a quick recording. I've got the Kiwi SDR opened up here. I have it set on IQ mode. That is the best way to record. It is the most realistic recording. I have the filter set to -10 on the low end. Remember, I'm transmitting at -40, so I want to hear it. And on the high end, I've got it set at 4030, just a little bit higher than 4000 so we could hear everything. Though I'm running in Apache Labs with adaptive pre-distortion, so there's going to be nothing above 4000. So let's click record. All right, this is KB2 UKA doing a quick audio recording, quick test here. We are recording into K3 FEF Kiwi SDR in Northeast Pennsylvania. We are about 30 over into that Kiwi SDR. She sells seashells down by the seashore. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And that's it. KB2 UKA ending recording. And I'm going to go QRT. All right. There we go. So let's listen back to that real quick. Let's mute this. And let's make sure my levels are good for the recording. And let's see what we got. All right, this is KB2 UKA doing a quick audio recording, quick test here. We are recording into K3 FEF Kiwi SDR in Northeast Pennsylvania. We are about 30 over into that Kiwi SDR. She sells seashells down by the seashore. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And that's it. KB2 UKA ending recording, and I'm going to go QRT. All right, guys, that's it. That's what all the work is for. Beautiful, robust low end, crisp high end. You can hear the separation between the mids and the, you could hear that the mids are cut out, and that's what really brings up the low end. But the low end is clean. It's not muddy. It's articulate, as is the high end. There's some punch there. And man, I just love this stuff. So I really hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching the channel, whether you're on YouTube or TikTok. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, please put them below the video. And I look forward to speaking with you on the air. This is KB2 UKA Clear.